So here we are, it is the middle of February, and we're just getting closer to other shows by Jon and Dave, as well as Star Wars Celebration, by the way, that's going to be the source of many different announcements to take place by Jon, Dave, Bob Iger, and a whole lot more on the horizon at D23 later this year as well. That's going to hold even more announcements. Now, don't forget that we also have earnings calls by Disney that will also make some further announcements related to Star Wars projects as well. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future Star Wars updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support. Now, one thing about the character of Luke Skywalker. The character is so cherished and loved over the past couple of decades, especially, with what Jon and Dave recently did. Back in 2020, you guys may very well recall when he made that iconic entrance into the control room to take Grogu and leave with R2-D2 as well. It was a very heartwarming moment. No fan really expected this. And by the way, Jon and Dave found a very expert way to really keep that under wraps, is that they made believe, even to many of the crew members and a lot of the cast, that the major cameo was going to be something around the lines of like a Plow Koon type character, even in the concept art, and it was all really just Luke Skywalker. So, when you look at everything related to the overall structure of what they're aiming for, is that it really is all about kind of exploring the iconic characters that fans know and love, and how they can really expand and evolve that into something new. So that's why you're getting shows like Ahsoka, Ghost Track 17, which, by the way, is just a code name. It's going to feature Ezra and Thrawn, and a lot more. But anyways, moving on to the next big thing here is what Mark Hamill had to tease. So with actor Mark Hamill getting ready to find, of course, new avenues for the future of Star Wars and film new big scenes for The Mandalorian Season 4 later this year, he also had a couple of exciting announcements to make for the fans involving his character, Luke Skywalker, and Jon and Dave's plan for the future of the franchise. Now, Mark Hamill recently went on to state to the entire fandom, well, I can tell you one big thing about what Jon and Dave are putting together, and what I personally am up to. The Luke Skywalker that fans loved, including my son Nathan, who really cherishes him in the books, is going to be a major influence and inspiration for how we are expanding his story in the upcoming projects. And well, can I just say something here? I don't know if I will get in trouble for saying this, but there may be a series for me coming your way soon. Who would love that, huh? Maybe it's in the works, maybe it's not. Haha. You are just gonna have to wait and see, my fellow Jedi. Now let me stop right here for a second. Now, Mark Hamill always likes to make jokes and kind of toy around with the fans, but this is something that's a little bit more direct and really falls in line with the leaks that we've been talking about, of how there is a Luke series in the works, or technically, yes, a Luke series. It's not going to be called Luke Skywalker, or anything like that, but it's going to be dubbed Star Wars Jedi Knight, and it's going to be focusing on Luke in the form of an anthology show, where it also focuses on the lives that surround Luke Skywalker. I'm very sure that this is what Mark Hamill is alluding to. So, this kind of reminds me of what Ewan McGregor did in that famous Collider interview years ago. You guys may recall where he even joked around just like this, where he said, hey, maybe there's even a Kenobi trilogy in the works. And that actually turned out, yes, to be the case, but it ended up getting scrapped by Kathleen Kennedy. So, yes, there was a Kenobi trilogy in the works, and it was happening when Ewan McGregor joked around about all of that. So this tease by Mark Hamill is substantial. It does match up with the leaks for Star Wars Jedi Knight that we have talked about for the past, 11 months now? It's coming together very slowly, but it's getting there. They want to get this thing out by 2025 and or 2026, the latest. It's going to be an anthology show, meaning each episode is going to be its own story. And I think that is going to be something very unique, because they're aiming to make it like an old version of Luke narrating about his younger life. And I like that overall format. That's what they're aiming for by Jon and Dave. Moving on. Now, the next thing that Mark Hamill goes on to talk about, he kind of teases around a little bit more, and he also kind of provides a lot of hints about what to expect for Luke's future in the Mandoverse by John and Dave. So let's tap into that right now. So he goes on to actually elaborate. But really, things like the relationships that Luke got involved in from Legends and the powers he obtained are going to be portrayed by John and Dave, who are just wonderful people to be around, and they just love my son Nathan, who also loves Legends. They get along really well. I just cannot wait to see what fans are about to see in the coming months and years all together for Luke. It's going to be the biggest thrill of a lifetime if you are a Star Wars fan, and just love what George created. I mean, who wouldn't like a series about Luke, right? Right? Haha. Well, everyone, just hold your breath for a while, and I promise you might be surprised for what John and Dave are doing. So, once again, Mark Hamill kind of poking a little bit of fun here and there, providing a couple of jokes and teases there. This is something that really is coming together with what we've been talking about with Star Wars Jedi Knight, without a doubt. There's definitely no way that the two aren't connected. This has to be what he's alluding to. Now, when you look at Mark Hamill, he jokes around a lot endlessly on Twitter, in interviews, on radio, all these different avenues for him to talk about his future in the Star Wars franchise and getting involved in upcoming regular animated projects, non-Star Wars related, regular animated material like Batman and stuff like that. But I think that when you look at something like this, the fact that he has John and Dave meeting up with his son Nathan when they come to his house to have meetings. He drags Nathan along because, let's face it guys, I don't know if you guys know Nathan, but Nathan Hamill is like an expert with Legends material. This guy knows everything about everything, probably even more than John and Dave, if you want to believe that. He's an expert. I'm not quite sure why he's not with Lucasfilm, to be honest, but when you look at stuff like that, of how when John and Dave, arrive at Mark Hamill's house once in a while, when they go over a couple of plans and things about his involvement in future shows. They did this, by the way, for Book of Boba Fett before he got involved as Luke. It's a very fun process. It's really the in-between of what's happening, I think, that really kind of keeps the fans interested, right? And that's exactly what Mark Hamill's doing here. He's kind of hyping the fans up. He's adding a little bit of mystery, but a little bit more of excitement there. Teasing around, with all these ha-has and these laughters and saying who wouldn't like a Luke series, or hold your breath and you might be satisfied, all these little teases, right? And all the like that fans have wanted to see for a very long time. Now, I think that you're going to get some fans that may not want a Luke Skywalker series because they think it might oversaturate the character. I don't believe so, not in the least. I think that John and Dave know that they can balance things a certain way. They can find a way to balance everything out where it's not going to oversaturate him. Hence why it's also going to focus on the lives around Luke as well. So overall, guys, fill me in below what you guys have to say about all this below in the comments. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.
From night to moon, we hear them moans again.